to Awakening Wednesdays, the first official episode. My name is Leo Knapp, and this was brought to you by What's the Play Games. So now, before I start, I just want to let you know to like, subscribe, and all that fun stuff, and send us a whisper also on the send us a whisper here on the Discord, on Twitch, so that way I can also send you a personalized reading depending on the tiers. We would really appreciate the support, and I would love to get to know all of you better as well by giving you these readings. It'd also be great if you could follow us on Twitter at What's the Play app, and follow me as well on Instagram at Leeboy_927. That's Leeboy_927. So, with the last episode that I was in, I talked briefly about the tarot, about how much I loved the tarot, how much that it was a stepping stone for me in my spiritual path. Before that, though, I always say my spiritual path, it started off with a seed, a Lumerian seed quartz. And if you don't know what that is, my friends, it is a very ancient crystal known for its healing abilities. And as I moved on with my spiritual path, I continued on with the crystals and eventually found myself in a beautiful store in Huntington Beach, California, finding my tarot cards. Like many people as well, a lot of people like to start off with oracle cards. However, we're going to focus on the current tarot. In the future, I may do a video on the difference between oracle and tarot, and oracle as a whole. Now, moving on with the history of the tarot, or also known as the Tarocchi. The Tarocchi. It originated somewhere in the 1400s in Italy. However, it has not been confirmed yet due to its main roots and the motivation as well as the force that it came from in France. But we're going to start off our journey in Italy. Now, the Tarocchi, it started off as a card game that many people played, specifically nobles, where they would build a bridge with the cards. And funny enough, that these cards that were brought to us, they were actually the precursors to our modern day playing cards. Now, we all know that with our modern day playing cards, we have the suits, the 4 suits, we have the hearts, the diamonds, the clubs, and the spades. Now, with the tarot, we have the swords, the wands, the pentacles, and the cups. And now these are going to play a very big influence in the tarot. But with that, we also have another 22 cards, which I will get into again in a later video. Most likely we're going to put up next week. So as we move on with our small history lecture with the tarot, as they moved on through Spain and most of Europe, actually, they found their way into France, which is where they really got the motivation and the spiritual intent of the tarot. And this is kind of where I want to bring in the fact that the tarot, these cards, they are not evil. They are not demonic. It is not for some devil-worshipping pagan occult. They are tools of divination. And when I say tools of divination, these stand for a way to amplify one's psychic ability. Anyone can be psychic. Anyone can be a medium. It is just opening yourself up to the energies around you and practicing. I can't hold that enough to my heart, is practicing my gifts, practicing my craft. So now as we start to kind of move away from the historical aspect of it, I do want to go over the minor arcana in the tarot. And so this starts off, going back again to the suits of starting off swords, starts off with an element, the element of air. Now, the swords, they also show and symbolize our physical mind, our intellect. This is where we bring our ideas and try and will them into our own existence. Next, we have the wands. These are carrying the element of fire, passion, and cleansing, but it also brings in creativity. This is our spiritual mind. And it can also be associated with the practice and the right brain as well. Moving on, next we have the cups. Now, very simple. The element here, water. And in the spiritual community, many people would understand that water is a symbol of spirit. It is the symbol of the spirit world. But it is also a symbol of our emotional well-being, our emotional deep mind. Moving on next to the last suit, we have the pentacles, which represent the element of earth, our earthly possessions. Now, the pentacles can represent our money, our finances, work, school-related topics, and even family. Now, another interesting thing with this that also has to do with our modern-day playing cards is the amount of cards in each suit. Now, in the suits, in these, we have 14 cards in each suit, as opposed to 13. With each suit, it goes from ace to king, ace being number 1. But in between the 10 and the king, we actually don't carry a jack with us. Instead, we have 2 different cards known as the page and the knight. And many people speculate that when you bring the page and the knight together, now the page is somewhat of a scholar, and we all know the knights, they were someone who were very brave and very chivalrous. But when we bring these 2 elements together, we come across the jack, someone who is very well versed in knowledge, but someone who is also very brave and chivalrous towards those around them. And then we do move on with the rest of the court cards with the queen and the king. But I do want to start off with the aces. So Charles, if you can bring up the aces, I'd really appreciate it. So now here you see all of the aces in the tarot. We have the wands, the cups, the swords, and the pentacles. And with these pip cards, as we call them, they all carry very similar meanings to them, but with very big differences as well. With the aces, as I like to say, they are the seeds, they are the start to our journey. So moving on to, I want to actually start off with the Ace of Swords. These here show the motivation and the will to bring in our own thoughts, bring in our own individuality. And it is also seeing success ahead of us, seeing the success ahead of us. But that doesn't mean that we should cower away from progress and the motivation to change. Though we see success in front of us, that doesn't mean we should give up our motivation. And then moving on to the Ace of Wands, this here shows a lot of creative aspects to our life, a lot of new creative elements that we can bring into the world. This also shows us passion, and this can also go hand in hand with the cups, the passion to love ourselves, but without having a passion for another. It is longing for that completeness. Though we want that individuality, we also want the comfort of a lover, which is where I bring in the Ace of Cups. The Ace of Cups, this is where we come in with our emotional mind. In the Ace of Cups, you'll notice here that you'll see a chalice overflowing with water. This shows our emotional mind, our emotions coming up and resurfacing, being able to tell our truths. Now, lastly, we have the Ace of Pentacles, also known as the Ace of Coins, but I like to stay traditional with the Pentacles. So the Ace of Pentacles here, this is what tells us that we still have to cling on to our earthly possessions. We may not always have to, but that's the way that our world has been built, is through monetary possession. Now with the Ace of Pentacles, this here shows us, again, that seed. It's that start to our journey. Whether it comes with an idea of our work ethic, it also shows us an idea of a lot of other motivations, in a sense, to create new physical things. I'm seeing here that we have something in the chat. I want to bring that up if I can. Let me see here. I have another one here. Okay. Are there base elements, cups, swords, etc.? Sorry, let me do this one more time. Are there base elements, cups, cups, swords? Are there with the cups, swords, etc., supposed to be reminiscent of zodiac signs, fire, water, etc. All right. First of all, Science Man, I just want to thank you for that comment. Actually, it does in many ways. The suits and the cards alone actually do show up in the zodiacs, especially in the major arcana, which I will go over in next week's episode, how the zodiac signs also relate to the tarot cards. Now, I need to get back to the rest of my stuff here. I'm sorry guys, I'm trying to multitask here, making sure I can get to all your comments as well as stay on track. So I'm just going to go over quickly the Ace of Pentacles one more time, how it is the willing, it is the seed to bring in new motivations, new ways of physical prowess, as well as new business ventures to come ahead. Now as we continue on, Charles, if we can get to the twos, the tarot twos. Now in the twos, this here shows us a lot of the similarities in the tarot twos are choices, partnership, and balance. And you're going to see these messages come up a lot in the twos. Now, we start off with the Two of Swords, which shows us the woman here sitting in a chair, tied up in white, with two swords covering her chest, weighing her down. She is also putting a blindfold on. This shows that whatever choice she makes, if she is to keep these swords crossed or let them go, she may not know what is in store for her in the future. Though it may be something scary where we cannot see things clearly in the future, we know that our choices will have a ripple effect. Oh, it looks like we have a caller in. I'm going to take their call real quick. It'll take me a second. I'm going to put my headphones on. Hello, you're on Awaken Wednesdays with Leo Knapp. Who am I speaking with?
Twitch video, and I was interested in my tarot reading.
Oh, okay. Oh, so you're interested in getting a reading with me?
Yes, I want to know what I need to do and how to get it because I'm very interested.
Okay, so right now I believe we actually do have ways, if you do subscribe to the Twitch, and there are ways to donate to us, which really help us create more content. Through the tiers of donation, I am giving readings every month. It's 3-card spreads. And I'll mostly just focus on the month coming up for you.
Okay, so it's like a month-to-month thing, so it'd be kind of like a horoscope, but for tarot reading. Oh, that's awesome. So what would so I just subscribe through the app, and that's how I'd sign up?
Yeah, correct. So you can subscribe through the Twitch, and I believe that you can also set up, I believe it's monthly donations on here. Really, it helps not just me, but it also helps out the other streamers on here as well. We're all like one big family. We all like to work together. It really helps all of us in the long run.
That's awesome. And then I didn't have a couple other questions. Like,
oh yeah, go on ahead.
How long have you been doing this?
Oh shoot!
How long have you been doing it? Like, I don't know. How long have you been like interested in?
So as far as being interested in a lot of the spiritual practices that I'm in, it probably started off off and on in high school, roughly about 7 years ago. I was a freshman.
Okay.
I was a freshman roughly about 7 years ago, and it was very off and on for a while, and it wasn't until by the end of my junior year when, again, I got that seed My friend,
Yeah.
my Lumerian
Yeah,
seed
I was just
quartz.
gonna ask you. I was like, who prompted it, or like, what sprung the interest, like all of a sudden? No.
Yes, so she was a really close girlfriend of mine, and she gave me this quartz as a necklace for just for a special occasion. I don't think it was for any actually I don't think it was for any reason at all. I think she just gave it to me. It was that
Yeah.
it was that synchronicity, you know, it's that synchronicity that they just brought in to my life. And it's funny to think about that just one little necklace changed my life.
Awesome.
Uh,
Yeah, no, I've
so
always been
yeah.
interested in like the energies levels for the crystals, tarot reading, and all that stuff. I love
I
giving away amethyst. This is my favorite to give away.
amethysts are
But
beautiful. I always recommend to those that are just getting into the craft, getting into the practice of it all, always starting off with a few crystals here and there, or and even some books, just so that way you can, get the knowledge of it all.
yeah, not only through spiritually, but it's like scientifically backed up that they're
It
very
is a
good
lot.
healers, and I believe that if like more people wore minerals and crystals, that it deflects a lot of cancer, like stuff caused by radiation,
Oh,
especially.
I keep all kinds of
Yeah.
black tourmaline by my router. Always. I
See, that's
always
what
keep
I'm.
black tourmaline and shungite. Shungite I 110% would recommend keeping it
Yeah,
next to your router for anything
yeah.
that emits some kind of radiation, because it'll absorb that harmful radiation.
So you have a lot more knowledge than just readings too that you can get from here,
Just
apparently.
from the just from the few years that I've been learning, I've read books and articles, as well as experience, and I feel like that's the number one thing is if you can get the experience, and that will just get you set on your journey.
Well, of course, you can sit and read and think about anything, but unless it actually happens in your life, but word of mouth is the best.
I agree. Having that kind of mentor, I cannot thank my friends enough for just for leading me on this path. It's been so healing and just so wonderful just meeting these people, meeting these friends, and the community as a whole as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you for sharing your information with me. I look forward to subscribing. I also told a couple of people that are interested in the same belief system, and I hope that I get a lot from this.
Gosh, I'm so grateful for that. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Victoria. I really
You're
appreciate you
welcome.
swinging by. Have a blessed day, and remember, stay woke.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. You too. All right, let's see if this works, guys. I think we may have gotten it working. All right, I think we got it going. Perfect. Can you guys in the chat? Hopefully y'all can hear me. All right, welcome Stacy, and of course Victoria, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate the conversation. I'm really hoping that this is working. Perfect. Thanks, Science Man. I really appreciate. All right, so I'm going to just go back again with the Two of Wands. Bring this back again. So the Two of Wands, you'll notice here on the top, you'll notice the man holding the globe in his hands with the two staves, the two sticks next to him, these being the Two of Wands. But now the main picture, the main image, the center of the man holding the globe, this is what shows a very beautiful picture about how we have the choice to go wherever it is that we want, wherever our heart's content. And this here will show a mix of balancing as well as a choice to be made. But I feel here in the Two of Wands that this is a choice of celebration. This is a choice to travel, be fond with the world. And that's why this gentleman here in the card is holding the globe in his hands. He is trying to figure out, where is it that he can go next? Where am I going to bring my soul, my body, and my mind to? And this can be both in the physical sense and in the mental and emotional sense. Because when we are so just stuck, when we feel like we're stuck in a rut and we're not getting out, this is a beautiful card to get in your reading, because this shows that yes, you are stuck, but there is so much that's up ahead. Now moving on to the Two of Cups. I just gotta add as well that the Suit of Cups is my all-time favorite suit in this, due to the fact that I myself am an emotional person, in case you couldn't tell. Oh my god, my cousin's here. Love you, cousin. So the Two of Cups, this here shows us the communion and consecration between two lovers. You'll notice here that there are the two lovers, but as well you also have what seems like a lion head with wings. And this is what's showing us here as the connection between our physical bodies and as well our mental and emotional and spiritual bodies, connecting it all into one. So our soul's partner, our lover, can feel welcome, and we can feel welcome to our lover as well. Now lastly, for the twos, we have the Two of Pentacles. I'm trying not to cut myself off here. So with the last of the twos, the Two of Pentacles, this here shows us a gentleman. You can see him at the bottom here. You can see the gentleman, he's trying to juggle two pentacles. He's trying to juggle these two starred coins in what seems like an infinity symbol. This here is what is showing us the balance between our work ethic as well as anything else that we may not be able to control. Now, this can be bringing in home and work life, not being able to differentiate the two, and bringing our work life into our home life. Many people tend to get the two confused and bring them into one when they should be separated. You can also see in the background, if you look close enough, that you can see waves, very large waves, like crashing up and down. This here is what's showing, again, like I said, the water, our emotional mind. This here is showing us the unbalance of our emotional mind. Hitbox Bob, thanks for the follow. Now, as we move on to the threes, If I can actually get those pulled up here. Just a second. All right, I think we got these up now. We got them up? Good, good. All right. So now that we have the threes in, we're gonna go into the Three of Swords, which here can kind of be a scary sight. Oh wait, I think we have the twos up again. I think we accidentally brought the twos up. Hang on, I gotta fix that. Steven, if you can fix that for me. Perfect, there we go. Now we got the threes up. Perfect. So now with the Three of Swords here, this can kind of be a scary sight to see. You see the heart with the Three of Swords, and this is kind of where I'm gonna be upfront with the tarot. And I know I said, you know, this is not demonic, and it isn't, but it is real. It is not sugar-coated. It is not meant to be looked through rose-colored glasses. It is meant to be upfront with you, and it is meant to warn you as well. It is nothing that you need to be afraid of. Though it may come up as a warning or something that, you know, you may seem hesitant with, you may seem scared of, or maybe it may not even resonate with you, just know that you have this control. And this is kind of where I'm gonna take a pause here and talk about the difference between free will and destiny. I'm gonna do probably another video of this further in the future talking more about it, but we carry both. We have both destiny and free will. We will, as spiritual beings, we will always have these specific trials we go through. It's all a matter of how we want to go through it. Do we want to go through it sooner than later? Do we want to hold it off? In my opinion, I'd rather experience it sooner than later, so that way I have the knowledge up front and it's in front of me and I can't deny it. So, as we move on here to the Three of Swords, like I said, kind of a scary picture with, you know, the three swords stabbing into the heart. This here is definitely going to be, again, the more realness of it. But before I move into it, the commonalities between the threes are going to be companionship, structure, and friend group. And you'll see here within the Three of Swords that this is actually going to represent the friend group and a caution for the things that kind of go around it. And know that, in my understanding, you should, not all of your friend groups, if you have multiple of them, they don't always mix. Yes, this can be something of heartbreak in a way, but this can also be your own cruelty towards yourself and not having your own self-love and acceptance. Yes, Victoria, you are also right there. The caution of life. Life does happen. We can't always control things in our life, and we need to understand that. So now as we move on to the Three of Wands, again, up at the top here, it's a very similar message to the Two. It's almost like a continuation of the Two of Wands. This here shows a gentleman with three wands looking out into an open ocean. And it's almost as if that he is already on the preparation and the planning stages of his journey. Or it's as if that he's actually just about to embark on said journey. The tarot tells a story. It's our job to decipher it. It is our job to tell that story. So now as we move on to the Three of Cups, this here, again, this actually shows us the connection and communion of friends. Being able to trust in a friend group. Being able to, as well, trust those that are closest to you. And putting their trust in your hand, or in their hands, it can be a scary thing, and we could end up like the Three of Swords, where we get hurt, or we can continue our way through the cups, being emotionally invested and spiritually connected. So now, lastly, with the tarot, with the threes of the tarot, we have the Three of Pentacles, and you'll notice here it's actually at the bottom. You'll see three gentlemen with next to a column that has 3 stars on top, and this here is showing the I almost said balance. This actually shows the connection of friends through what do I want to say? Through work experience. This is showing work experience, but building up to it. This can also show and prove to be a small business, building that up, making a small business family. And if you have ever seen like a mom and pop shop or a small business run by a small crowd, it's a beautiful thing. Trust me, they are all family. With the Three of Pentacles as well, this can also show one's own work ethic. This can also show what I kind of see as masonry. When I see masonry, I see someone working super hard for what it is that they want to achieve. Not just actually working with stone, but fighting tooth and nail to get to where they want to be. Whether that be with fame, prosperity, love and relationship. In this, it can go either way. It's just up to you. So now as we move on through the cards, we're all done with the threes, and we're going to move on to the fours now. So if I can actually get these switched up into the tarot fours, and again, we're going to start off with the swords. Let's see, I think we got these up. We do. Perfect. So, the tarot, the fours in the tarot. A commonality you'll see in the messages here is going to be structure and keeping things close to you. Now, this can also show as well resting, like in the Four of Swords. This here shows a gentleman of what appears to be a noble or knight of some kind, coming home or resting. He has the he has the 3 swords right above him and the one underneath. He has put his tools away and he is ready to end the day. He is ready to take a break. He is ready to just relax and let live, leaving any form of negativity in his past. Because when we live in the past, we can no longer dream of the future. So now as we move on, we have the Four of Wands. This here is actually a very pretty one. One of my other favorite pip cards here. One second here. Sorry, I just needed to fix up some stuff in the background. All right. So again, moving on here to the Four of Wands. This here is showing us a beautiful celebration. You'll see the Four of Wands creating structure, a roof amongst 2 people who are celebrating. Now this can be a wedding, this can be a graduation, or just a birthday party in general. This is a time of celebration, a time to love, not just, you know, your one close friend, but this is a time to love your community. And that's such a beautiful thing. I've always tried to be upfront and even, and trying to not just connect with one person, but try and connect to a mass, trying to connect with the masses in a very spiritual context. And that's what the Four of Wands can symbolize. Now as we move on to the Four of Cups, this is another kind of card that's going to be, you know, reality hitting you in the face. This is going to be a card which will symbolize possible either negligence or slander that is being thrown onto you or to another person. And this can come from anyone. This can come from family, friends, or even a stranger. This overall is just a card of negativity, of toxicity. And when I say that, I'm not saying that it carries this energy, but if we allow it to carry this energy. And again, these are only pictures of the future, of a possible future. Again, this is something that correlates to free will and destiny. Am I destined to lose these people that I may carry, or is this on my own accord? Choice is up to you. So now, before I move on to the last four, I do want to again talk about the promos here. If you can all subscribe to the Twitch, that would be awesome. You can whisper to us, and if you also donate when you subscribe, I will also personally give you a free reading every month, once a month, a 3-card spread just for what may be up ahead in the following month. You can also follow What's the Play on Twitter at What's the Play. At What's the Play app. Sorry, my bad. And then lastly, you can also follow me on the Instagram at Leboy_927. That's LEBOY_927. And that's mostly just my personal. But I got lots of spiritual stuff as well. If you just want to DM me and talk about tarot, I can literally chat your ear off for hours. All right. So moving back, we have the last 4 in the tarot. We have the Pentacles. This here is showing us a gentleman that is holding and caressing a pentacle, a coin, if you will. He has 2 at his feet and 1 on his crown. This here is showing that structure, that holding something close to you. Now, this can symbolize a strong savings, a will to save money. But this can also represent greed. If we are hoarding our money and we don't want to give it to others. Tender loving coins. I love it. I love it. I know I've been there one time before. I was just caressing my money at the end of a work day, just getting my paycheck like, yes, I'm going to spend you on so much food. But in all seriousness, the 4 of Pentacles, this can be a good card to have because it shows that you are willing to also sacrifice things to put money away. So now, since that's the last 4, that's the last 4th, we're going to go back into the 5 of the tarot. If we can bring those up, that would be awesome. Perfect. All right. Get that bread. Yes, we got to get that bread. Speaking of which, getting that bread, again, tips as well as subscriptions really help. So we have the 5 of swords here, but I do want to talk about the commonalities of the 5s. This tends to dealing with loss. It can also be dealing with grief as well as conflict, whether that be internal or external, which is actually where we're going to start here. We're going to start here with the 5 of Swords, which actually shows kind of sly coyness and dealing with a loss. This, however, can also be dealing with a win as well. In a way, this can show up as a short-time win. However, through this, it can also be seen as greed or lies, lying through deceit. Now, as we move on, we have the 5 of Wands. This here, you can see a very violent scene ensuing, and it's going to be at the top of these cards here. A very violent fight ensuing between 5 people, all holding sticks. They just kind of seem like they want to beat the shit out of each other. Now, this can represent actually 2 things. Yes, it will represent conflict, and it will most likely represent conflict within yourself, your own thoughts. This will represent conflict in oneself to feel motivated. They can feel stuck in that rut or that feeling of worthlessness. This can also be a similar message in your real life. Outside of oneself, this can also be in a literal sense of being in a fight with a group of friends or with your family. It's kind of very simple. It tends to speak for itself. You got these 5 people with sticks. They just want to beat the hell out of each other. I don't know. It just seems like one of them just took the last pentacle or the last cheese roll. Who knows? God, I want cheese balls now. All right. So now as we move on, we have the 5 of Cups. Now this here, again, this is kind of a somber one, but it has a bit of light to it as well if you really look for it. You'll notice the gentleman, he's the card at second to the top. You'll see the gentleman, he's staring down at 3 chalices that have tipped over. They have lost their liquid. However, he has 2 cups that are behind him standing straight up. This card can symbolize feeling lost or losing something that was close to you. But if we really look into it, did we lose anything at all that was worth losing? That's a question that I ask myself all the time. When I lose something, did I lose it or was it set free? Was it weighing me down or was it something that I really needed? And that's something that you can ask yourself when you look at this card and it resonates with you is, have I lost something that I need back? Or can I live without it? And that's the beautiful thing with the 5 of Cups, because you will still always have anything to back you up. Even if you've hit rock bottom, all you can do is go back up. As well as with that, again, we have the water, we have the creek in the background, and this is going to be a little bit more of a deep dive. This is also showing the emotional strain that it can bring. You can look at the water and you can see it either just as a violent torrent or you can see it as a gentle stream. It's all a matter of your intuition. And that's just how I like to look at things. I will look at these at surface level, or I will look at these into a complete deep dive, analyzing the crap out of them. But more often than not, I do use these cards almost like a template in my readings. I will focus mostly on the querent, or also known as the client's energy. The cards are just used to help me devise a path to take in this reading. So now we have the last of the 5s, the 5 of Pentacles. So this here, you'll notice that you'll see 2 gentlemen in tattered clothing. One has crutches, and it seems like they're outside of what looks like a monastery or a church with 5 glass pentacles. Now again, this has something to do with loss. This is going to have to do with the loss of money. This can be either a loss of money, this can be a loss of a business, this can also just be a hindrance. This doesn't have to be a total loss. This can just be a cripple. And again, it's moving back into the 5 of chalices, the 5 of cups, looking at the brighter side of it, looking at that silver lining. Because even when you notice, you may not see a sky in this card, but you'll notice the snow that's on the ground, thus there being clouds in the sky. Thus you can sensibly see that there is a brighter side to things. Yes, Victoria, do something with what you are given. That's actually a beautiful message as well. I agree with that 100%. Because some people may not be as fortunate as others. That just means that whatever it is that they have, they can make it work. They don't have to have these, thousands of dollars worth of equipment when something very simple and original and crafty as well. It doesn't take money to be witty. It doesn't take money to be smart. It just takes experience. So now we have the last of the 5s. We're going to be moving on to the 6s now. So if I can get these changed real quick. I'll just take just about a second. Perfect. So now that we got the sixes up, the commonalities with the sixes in the tarot, you'll notice, is actually propelling forward and away from danger. This is actually getting out of the sticks. How a lot of things here with the fives, you'll notice, you know, a lot of bad things coming about, you know, a lot of negativity. But you'll notice here within the sixes, it's actually coming out of it. It's coming out of the woodwork. So we have here with the Six of Swords, we have three people here. It's kind of hard to see the third person because they're next to the woman sitting down. But you see these three people on a boat with 6 swords in it. And you'll notice the differences between the water, if you will. How to their right, it's very choppy, very violent. But to the left, it's actually much more calmer. It's a lot more calm. And this is a card of trying to get away from the negativity and bring yourself into something more positive, something more lively. Moving on now to the Six of Wands. This here actually shows a form of preparation. A form of preparation within our own mindset, our own creativity. This can be something as moving away, again, from the negativity and being able to cope with it and to accept it, because that's going to be the biggest form of moving on, is accepting. Now as we move on to the Six of Cups, this here is showing us actually a very beautiful picture being drawn for us. This is actually showing two people with 6 cups. The older gentleman is giving the girl a cup. Now this here is showing a form of charity, actually. This is a form of love language. This can also be a form of remembering one's past. You'll notice as well the kind of flowers, the whiteness of them, the purity. I'm gonna, just 1 second here. All right. I just need to fix something there real quick. My bad, you guys. Thanks, guys. Appreciate the love and support. All right. So now with this last part that I'm going to bring up with the Six of Cups is the colors of the flowers, the whiteness and the purity. This shows the innocence that can come of the charity and expecting nothing in return as well. Because when we give to these charities, when we try and propose a good deed and it comes from a wholesome place and we are expecting nothing in return, that is what shows us someone's true character. So now with the last 6, we have the Six of Pentacles, and this is going to be actually a very similar meaning alongside with the Six of Cups. This again is a form of charity. Now, the difference between the Six of Pentacles and the Six of Cups I want to touch up on is the Six of Cups. This can almost be anything, actually. It's more of a broad version of the Six of Coins or the Six of Pentacles. Whereas the Six of Pentacles is purely charity through a physical means, the Six of Chalices or the Six of Cups, this here is showing us the charity of time. It is the charity to listen, being able to listen and give advice to those people. Whereas again, for the Six of Pentacles, this is showing us the charity of possible time, but mostly through physical efforts. Thanks for the subscription, Victoria. Appreciate it. Hey, and she's at tier 1. All right. And I do actually have like quite a quick question here for you guys. If I can get some input here, is if you want me to start next week earlier or later, whatever it is that it feels like you guys like better, because we would really thrive off of some critiques. I know I would. That's how we can grow. So now I am going to move on here. Since we finished up the 6, we're going to move into the 7s. So if we can bring that up as well. Perfect. All right. So again, so we have the sevens here, and the commonality between it is going to be, again, it's going to be more conflict that's going to come up, because through life, we're always going to come across this conflict. It always has the ups and downs. You know, you're going to get into something and you're going to get out of it. But if we always have that feeling of, oh my God, this is going to happen again, I'm going to be upfront with you. It's going to happen again. And this is what the tarot is trying to tell us. Now, with the Seven of Swords here, again, this kind of represents deceit, something similar to the Five of Swords. It represents lying. It represents trickery just to get what you want. Now, as we move on to the Seven of Wands, again, this can be more of an internalized conflict to oneself. Whereas with the Five of Wands is going to, yes, represent the internal affairs. More times than not, it's going to represent the external, but it's often going to be an outside force with the Five as opposed to the Seven. Now, with the Seven of Wands here, there's something interesting that I want to pull out is you can never see in any one that you get, no matter what deck it is, you'll almost never see the other staves, the other sticks, the other wands coming for this character, coming at this person. You'll almost never see them. And there's oftentimes the meaning behind it is it's yourself. You are the one that is creating this own drama. You are the one that is creating your own hurdles in your life. And it's just a matter of if you want to stick with these, stay in your comfort zone, or do you want to get out there, get uncomfortable, and get the work done? Now, as we move on to the Seven of Cups, this here as well, this can represent a form of overwhelming sensation. This can actually be a card of choice, because you have seven chalices here with several different outcomes, or prizes, if you would say. And you have the gentleman that's facing them, facing the clouds. This here has to do with a very overwhelming choice. Whoops. Has to do with a very overwhelming choice. And you'll notice in the cups that it's several different ones. Some of them seem good, some of them seem bad. Some of them may have hidden agendas. And something that I like to mention in this card is a very it is a very simple meaning behind it, is the devil is in the details. That is something that you always want to focus on. The devil is in the details. Yes, looking at things surface level, it keeps you open to the interpretation, but as well, you want to also find that for yourself so you don't get sidetracked or blindsided. Now, with the last seven we have here, we have the Seven of Pentacles. And now this here is showing the hard work that can be put through and reaping what it is that you've sown. However, this is going to be before what it is that you've sown. This is actually putting that hard work in to whatever it is, whether it be, again, saving, putting that money away, like we talked about with the Four of Pentacles, saving up that money. This can also represent a higher position. This can show you climbing up the ladder in your place of work. It can also represent patience, being patient with your time, knowing how it is that you can get around something and, not cut corners. That's what this card is trying to ensue, is you cannot cut corners, because you'll notice this gentleman, I think I want to say the card, further at the bottom of here, you'll see the gentleman, he is taking care of his crop. He is taking care of what it is that he has grown. He may not be ready to reap what he has sown, but he is watching it grow. He is admiring his progress. Thank you for stopping by, Victoria. I really appreciate it, and I hope to hear from you again. So now as we finish up with the 7 of Pentacles, we're going to move on to the 8 of the Tarot. I'm going to need to change that up. If I can remember how to do that. Stephen, can you change that up for me, please? All right. Perfect. So now that we're up here, we have the 8s. So now the commonality between the 8s has to do with a lot of hard work, judgment, and with work ethic. And again, these are going to be tiptoeing around very similar messages within the past. So now we have the 8 of Swords. This here, it can be, again, a kind of a scary sight. Some of the sword cards are a little freaky, I'm going to be honest. But here, this is showing a woman in red. She is bound. Her whole body has been stuck there. It's almost as if like she's put in a prison. But instead she is thrown out in the middle of nowhere. And if you look really close, you can almost see a kingdom in the background, almost as if she's been exiled. Now, the meaning behind this is, or the question, sort of say, is who exiled her? Was it an outside source or was it herself? Oftentimes than not, we will seclude ourselves or exile ourselves out of our social circles, and it has to do with our mental health. That is what this is trying to poke at, is our mental stability, being caught up in our own mental games. That's what this is trying to play on. Who knew that a freaking card deck that was like hundreds of years old actually touched up on mental health? This is something that we'll have to maybe take up on later. So, moving on again, we have these 8 swords that are surrounding this woman, almost like a jail cell. This is her, or our way of saying that we trap ourselves, we will put ourselves in a corner, put ourselves in a jail, just so that way we can seclude ourselves and put people away. But at the end of the day, who are we helping? We're not helping ourselves just by shutting people away and just trying to get away from everything and not talk about it. Because that's what this card is trying to insinuate, is keeping everything stuffed inside. And not only will this affect your mental health, but this will affect your emotional and spiritual health, and even your physical health. That's what this card is trying to say here. So now as we move on to the 8 of Wands, this card that you'll see here, it's actually closer to the top, you'll notice 8 wands flying through the air. There is no one that is holding on to them but the wind itself. And you'll notice here, it's almost as if that they're flying all on their own. Now this card here, this is something that can represent actual jealousy in our lives. The arrows of jealousy. Poking accusations. Where if we were to retract these statements, retract these thoughts, we could actually spare someone of our wrath. Because believe it or not, some people may think that their words mean nothing when their words and their actions create giant ripple effects. No matter what it is that you do now, it may not affect me in the future, but it will 100% affect me several years from now. Even if I don't know you. Even if you don't know me, whoever else is watching. And that's another thing that I would like to bring up is the people in the chat watching and appreciating this. I appreciate you. So now as we move on to another 8, we have the 8 of Cups. And this here shows a gentleman walking away from what almost looks like a structure of cups, a structure of chalices. This here is representing the structure of one's emotional state. And again, this kind of goes hand in hand with the 8 of Swords, of feeling stuck within oneself. This 8 of Cups, this is going to feel as if you may be leaving projects behind, and in the physical sense or even in the mental sense, emotional. you trying to build your way up and then seeing you're getting outside your comfort zone, so you retract back. That is exactly what this man in the card is doing. He is seeing that he is making progress, and it scares him. And oftentimes, I know I have been guilty of being afraid of my own progress, of being overwhelmed with it. And if we let that happen, we can let so many opportunities just slip through our hands. It's just up to you if you want to take a hold of those and grasp them. So now with the last card that we have of the eights of the tarot is the Eight of Pentacles. This here, you'll see a gentleman working on his craft. He is edging the circles and carving the stars into them. This here is showing actual progress being made. And this can also go hand in hand as well with the Eight of Cups. Though he is leaving it behind, it is more than likely he will come back to it in the future, because this may as well be his destiny. One second, guys. It says that this is buffering. All right. So like I said, this can be his destiny. Like the Eight of Pentacles, this man, he is focusing on his craft. He is willing to work for it. And he is not afraid of his success because he knows that his future is on the line there. And something that you can also take out of this for yourself, your studies. For those of you that are in school, or those of you that are in the workforce and trying to get that promotion, just showing that hard work, integrity, as well as making these connections. And I can't stress this enough, connections are everything. All right, so now as we finish up with the eights of the tarot, I want to now move on to the nines. Oh man, I cannot believe that we are almost finished here. So we're going to move on to the nines of the tarot. I need to get that up here. So if I can get these up, Steven, if you can help me. I actually need some water. All right. We're getting so close here, guys. I do just want to say one more time, if you can also subscribe to the Twitch, that would be super helpful, as well as doing all these other kinds of promotions really help me out. Whispering on Twitch, joining the Discord as well also really helps out. You can also donate and get to a tier list, and you can get a free reading with me every month, a 3-card spread to figure out what is up for you in the next month. You can also subscribe or follow What's the Play on Twitter at What's the Play app. And lastly, you can also follow me on Instagram at Leboy_927. That's LEBOY_927. And we can just talk about a bunch of tarot stuff, or just talk not at all, if that's your thing. So now as we move on here, we have the nines of the tarot. Now this can represent hard work, smooth sailing, and the nearing to an end. So now here, as we do move on, what is this here? Aw, thanks, I appreciate that, you guys. Oh yeah, go ahead and stalk my Instagram all you want, I don't mind. Oh man, so I do need to move on here. We have the Nine of Swords here. Now this one, again, a lot of the swords, this is really the suit to bring down the hammer that is our reality. And this here is showing, again, our mental health. This is something that is going to come up a lot and will continue to, even into the major arcana, which again, I'm going to talk about in our next episode. And if you guys can give some insight as well as to what time, if you want us to start earlier, if you want us to start a little later, that can also really help out. All right. So now as we do move on here with these, I did want to pick these up for a second because they're really hard to see in my view. we have the Nine of Swords. So, like I said, it's bringing the hammer down. It is showing life at its hardest. But that doesn't mean life is always hard. It just sometimes means that we need to wake up and acknowledge that. So here with the Nine of Swords, we have a gentleman here getting out of bed. It almost looks like that he just had a nightmare. He has all these swords around him. And when I always looked at this card, I almost don't see the swords, but I do. It's as if that they were a part of his dream. As if it was a part of his nightmare. As if that he was actually trying to get away from his reality. Now with this as well, this can feel as if in our dreams we try to get away from our reality, but we can never get away from it. That is what our life is about. Life is worth living. So now I'm going to move on to the Nine of Wands, and this here is definitely going to start bringing in the more positive aspects of this, as well as more realism as well. We have the Nine of Wands, and this here is showing a gentleman. He has 8 wands behind him, as if he's trying to build his own structure, maybe his own house, or he's trying just to build up his confidence. Like I always like to say, these cards here, whatever it is that they are showing, they can be taken literal or metaphorical. Now the stave or the wand he is holding himself, that is what he is using as a tool. The wands, they can be several different kinds of tools. They can be used in self-defense. They can be used as weapons, tools of creation, as well as destruction. They can also be used like a torch, like fire. That is what the wands represent. Once again, the wands are the element of fire. So now with this, you'll notice as well, he does have what looks like a bandage wrapped around his head, and this may be because that he may have hurt himself. But through that pain, he has created something amazing, a work of art. And this is showing us that through our faults, through our time on this planet, that we want to create something beautiful. That doesn't mean that it's going to be smooth sailing all the time. But when we see that end goal and we are just fighting tooth and nail for it, we will endure much worse than what anything can throw itself at us. We will endure it all as long as we keep that common goal in mind. So now as we come across with the Nine of Chalices or the Nine of Cups, we have here a gentleman keeping his what looks like a collection of trophies above him. Now this is representing the gentleman's possible ego. This can show up in a reading as an inflated ego, needing to just, throw yourself out there, but as well, you gotta ask, who asked? who asked for the opinion? But as well as with this, you will notice the gentleman, he's very smug, but he's also proud. He is proud of his creations. And sometimes the ego can be a good thing, because without it, we may not have that self-motivation. So moving on to the last 9, we have the Nine of Pentacles, and you'll see here, you'll see a beautiful maiden in a beautiful robe with a bird at her hand and her crop at her side. And she is just about ready to reap what she has sown. And now this here will show us the creations that are about to come to fruition. This is nearing the end of a cycle. She is ready to reap what she has sown. Just as simple as that. She is ready to bring forth that energy and make it her reality. And this can be in the ways of bringing money, again, getting that promotion, or going through a graduation, nearing a graduation. So now as we finish up the 9s of the tarot, we finally have made it to the 10s. So if we can actually get this back up, if we can get the 10s up. All right, perfect. So now we have the 10s up, and I know, the swords, kind of scary again. And I always just have to remind people that it doesn't always have to be a bad thing. It is just trying to say, this is what's up ahead. This is life. Life is not sunshine and rainbows all the time. There is going to be life that is going to hit you in the face, and you're going to hate it. But it is all in the ways of making us grow. And that's what the Ten of Swords is trying to say here. As well as with that, having life walk all over you, or in a literal sense, having people walk all over you, you not standing up for yourself. You'll notice 10 swords stabbed and lodged into this man's back. Now, this can be, in the metaphorical sense, being stabbed in the back. Someone had betrayed you. Someone had, betrayed your trust. Someone had been walking over you, and you let it happen. You may have even been blindsided by it. It is just a matter of acknowledging the fact, like, okay, this may have happened to me. Yes, I cared for this person. Or maybe you didn't. Maybe you didn't care for this person. But they hurt you. But at the end of the day, we still walk away from it unscathed. We still walk away from it learning more. So now as we move on here, we have the 10 of Wands. And something very similar here to the 9 of Wands. This here is showing, again, that hard work, putting that in. And you're going to notice here, a lot of the commonalities have to do with strenuous work and success. But sometimes this can also be a symbol of completion, as well as not knowing when to give up. Because we get that ball rolling, we get that motivation, and we just don't know when to stop. Sword knowledge. Yes. So now that we're moving on here with the 10 of Wands, this here brings us to, again, this form of hard work, trying to reach a common goal. But if we recall back to the 9 of Wands, this brings us to not knowing when it is to stop. Because you'll remember in the 9 of Wands, that man, he was hurt making his beautiful piece of art, but he made it to the end. But we never truly finish, or do we? And that's all up to you. It's when you know your limits. However, with the 10 of Wands, this person may never know their limits. They may never know when it is that they can stop, when it is that they can retire, when it is that they should give up on something that no longer serves them. And that's going to be a very hard pill to swallow, is knowing when to let go of something that will no longer serve you. Now as we move on to the last two, holy crap, we finally friggin' made it to the last two. We have the 10 of Cups, and this here brings us to a very happy place in life. You'll notice it's the second card from the top. We have a family celebrating. They have 10 chalices up in the air, and this is showing the success. This is showing the completion. This is showing gratification and success. And this is most likely within ourselves, feeling happy and content with where it is that we are in life. This can also show a very close connection to family, building a family. This can show as well making a family, becoming married, having children, just being able to live life and be happy and content with where it is that you are in it. Lastly, holy shit, we made it to the end of the pip cards. Lastly, we have the 10 of Pentacles, and you'll notice here, it's kind of a hard image to see because the pentacles really overwhelm the image. But you'll notice a family and a very old man that is in the center shot here with his 2 dogs and his children to his side. This here is showing, again, the success within the work-related topics. This here is bringing wealth and prosperity and just overall abundance and success in home, work, and school life. Oh man, now that we've made it to the end, I think we may call this a day. If you guys can, I'm actually quite interested. If you guys can put down any suggestions, if you guys want me to come up again later this week, I am totally willing to come by because I do want to finish the court cards. Otherwise, if not, I'm definitely going to come back Wednesday. I will finish the court cards and I'm going to dive into the major arcana. Again, please subscribe to the Twitch, join our Discord. Don't forget to also help us out and donate. It'll really help us out. Not just me, but all the other streamers on here. Show them some love. You can also follow us on Twitter. You can subscribe at What's the Play app on Twitter. Oh, and lastly, it would also really help out if you do whisper us on Twitch, or if you put something in the Discord and how it is that you found us. If you can put my name on there, that would be awesome, and it really helps me out. And the last thing here as well, I just want to say, following my Instagram again, Leeboy927, it'll really help me out. Just, you know, racking up followers and making new friends. I'm all about making friends. So